Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. I hope you're doing well. We're talking about YouTube and podcasting. There's going to be some gurus who are going to kind of roll their eyes. Severe eye roll. In 3, 2, 1. Yes, we're going to talk about YouTube and podcasting and some best practices for all of us who are using YouTube to reach and grow our audience. Whether or not you agree podcasting and YouTube are a good relationship, the fact is there's a big audience on YouTube, and if you want to reach a big audience, you can't reach them by not being there. So I'm encouraging everyone in 2026, this new year, to consider your YouTube strategy, what you're doing there, and how you're working YouTube to bring more people into your world. The next episode after this one, I'm going to tell you how my YouTube strategy differs from many and how I am breaking all of the rules that the gurus are telling you will not work on YouTube. I have proof. And I'm happy to do a screen share with you and show you. I have nothing to hide. I can show you that what those gurus are telling you about YouTube and how YouTube is not a good idea for podcasting. There's some examples of them being completely wrong. And they're just throwing hate on YouTube because it's cool to do. And yeah, I am still a lover of audio podcasts through and through. All of my shows are hosted through what we call an RSS feed, meaning that one upload goes to multiple places at once and multiple places report back to me on my audience and my listenership and my views and all that stuff. So I am a firm believer in the RSS feed approach to podcasting. It is the one thing that will keep you from being canceled. But at the other side of it, there's a value to being on YouTube that I think a lot of gurus are dismissing at their peril, because the world is changing, opinions change, viewers and listeners are mixing together in one big happy group. It's going to be very hard to separate them. So if you're the type of person as a podcast guru who likes to have all their food on their plate never touch each other, like the peas can't touch the potatoes and the potatoes can't touch the carrots, and oh my gosh, and you have to have like one little segmented table, like plates that your kids would have. If that's your approach to podcasting, then you're a dinosaur in this space, and eventually, yeah, we know what happened to them. So sometimes the food mixes together, and that's called like stew or soup or whatever. I understand that we need to measure podcasting properly. I understand the benefits of RSS. I understand all of that. But when the audience comes back and tells you what they want, to ignore them is to really hurt your chances. So I'm all for whatever you want to do in podcasting, but my heart is always with RSS. I love audio podcasting. That's where I live the most, but I understand the need for some people to do something different. So I'm torn. And I'm probably one of the only people in podcasting that talks about podcasting that will actually admit that I'm torn on this topic. But I do believe that YouTube has a place in the future and currently for podcasters. And you'll never get the benefits of YouTube if you're never there. So even if you just do baby steps, like what I'm doing, and the next episode I'll explain what I'm doing specifically. But even if you do baby steps, at least you're there. And that opens the door to a whole new world for you to consider. So YouTube and podcasting. I know, hotly contested, a lot of division, a lot of people throwing rocks at each other over this. I just think that we need to think about the audience. They're the most important. Where they are is where we need to be. So keep that in mind. So in the last couple episodes, we talked about YouTube thumbnails and having your podcast connected to YouTube so that every time a new episode goes live to Apple and Spotify and Audible and on, it automatically goes to YouTube as well. And the benefits of that, even though it's an audio podcast showing up on YouTube. Again, severe eye rolls from all of the old gurus who are like, that's not a podcast. So that's fine. Let them complain and whine in the corner by themselves. Their audience is leaving them in droves anyway. Don't worry about that. When we connect our podcast to YouTube, it serves up an audio version to YouTube, and we need to create thumbnails to create some kind of engagement for an audience to click it. Remember, not everybody who watches video on YouTube is actually watching video on YouTube. It's on in the background, just like an audio podcast. So again, if you're not there, you're not going to have any chance of being found there. So at least having your show connected through your RSS feed to YouTube allows you to be there. And I have proof next episode on why that works. But we talked about YouTube thumbnails. We talked about kind of your approach to having playlists on YouTube and why that's a great idea. If you have a lot of episodes, you can group things together. Go back and listen to the last 2 episodes if you haven't heard those. And we break down that a little bit more. We're kind of focusing on YouTube here at the beginning of 2026. So go back and take a look, listen to those, and I didn't say watch. Go back and listen to those and see if you can apply some of these things to your podcast on YouTube. And if you have any questions about any of this stuff, you're like, it's great. I like listening to the show, but I have questions. Then reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca, and calendar's always there. I can always jump onto a screen share and walk you through something for you and for your podcast. Always happy to help. Today we're going to be talking about the little bolt-ons that you should also consider adding to your videos or your audio podcast on YouTube, to the file that goes onto YouTube. Things that you should add that increase the chances and the likelihood of better engagement, people binging your show, people sticking around, people following you, and building up a world on YouTube that if you don't use these tools, you're missing out on opportunities. So instead of letting YouTube decide what people are going to do after they watch or listen to your podcast, you need to direct the attention back to yourself by using some of these tools. We'll talk about them here on the show. Here we go. So talking about playlists, going back to one of the last episodes, we talked about there will be a playlist of all of these episodes around YouTube and connecting your podcast to YouTube and all that stuff all together in a separate playlist. So probably like YouTube and podcasters, or podcasters and YouTube. So you go to my YouTube channel for the howtopodcast.ca and you'll see it there with all my other ones. Be a playlist of just all these grouped together and make it super easy for you. Okay? That's how we do things around here. Try to make it as easy as possible. So there's a bunch of stuff that YouTube gives us on the back end in our YouTube studio. And it allows us to tailor how our channel looks, how it operates, how it serves up new content, how it recommends the next video to watch, next audio to listen to. So there's a lot of things here that we can lean into to help our YouTube channel grow, our audience grow. There's a lot of great stuff here. So take a look at the show notes. And again, you might want to listen to this again and listen to it while you have your YouTube channel up. And you can click through with me and kind of follow along as we go. So here we go. When YouTube has these great tools built in that offer engagement, that boosts what you do and how you keep your podcast audience watching and interacting with your episodes longer. So there's some really key things for us to consider as we go through this. One of them is called cards. Now, if you don't know what a card is, I will put an example of a card in the audio version of this podcast on YouTube. Right? You'll see it right about now. So I'll make a little sound here. So right there, if you look at the top of your screen, somewhere on the screen, if you're on YouTube, you are going to see the card. And the card is simply that. It's just a clickable link that allows you to see related episode topics. So, for example, you could link to the next episode on your card. You could promote a relevant playlist. So all of the How to Podcasts series, or a specific playlist like the YouTube and podcasting playlist. You can use a poll card to ask your listeners what topic they want next. You can keep the card messages short, clear, and contextual, tied to the current discussion. And then the timing for your cards, add the cards at a natural transition point, like right after a key insight, or stagger their appearance to avoid the audience being overwhelmed with multiple cards. Okay, so cards are a great example. And again, you just saw that on your screen. If you're watching on YouTube, If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, this makes no sense. We're focused on YouTube right now. So cards. The next one would be end screens. So on end screens, there's two different types of end screens for us as we work as podcasters on YouTube. If you upload your own podcast episode without an RSS feed. So what I was doing before YouTube allowed us to do RSS feed uploads is I was manually uploading episodes myself. And I was using oneimagevideo.com. I've been using that forever. And it takes a YouTube thumbnail picture and the audio MP3, and it blends them together, marries them together, and gives you a video version. Again, it's just an image, but it gives you a video version of the episode that you can upload manually. So it converts audio to video. It's free. If you've been using it forever, I love it. oneimagevideo.com. So I've been doing that. When I upload directly to YouTube, I get a different menu, a different selection of end screens than I do when it comes through my RSS feed. My RSS feed gives me a totally different look to the end screens. And I have to also make sure that if I am going to upload through RSS, that I go through and add my end screen to the video, because it doesn't do it automatically. So what are end screens? What do they do? End screens appear at the final moments. When you're watching a video or listening to a podcast on YouTube, they'll pop up at the end. And it's kind of like a menu of like where to go next type thing. And it can help you to promote other videos, playlists, subscriptions, or external links. It works really great. So some best practices for you as a podcaster: link to the next episode of your show or a related topic, a curated playlist. We talked about that before. Or related interviews. So if your guest has been on multiple times, you might want to click through to one of their other interviews where they were a guest on your show. Or if you've just had a judge on your show to talk about their book and you've had another judge on, then connect that, to the other episode, because the person watching most likely would be interested in another episode of someone else who is similar to that guest. There's a lot of great opportunities here. To take your hands off the wheel and not put an end screen allows YouTube just to suggest whatever they want to whoever is watching. I like the idea that I give my listener, my viewer, the opportunities to select, to stay with me instead of going off to somewhere else. So use your end screens. Include a subscribe button to show your channel audience in your end screen. Promote an evergreen resource as well. That could be a part of your end screen. And use a short call to action in the recording and as well in your end screen to help people stay with you longer. Keep this end screen visually clean. Use primarily one action item that you're asking your audience to do and a secondary option if space allows. And think about how you place the images of the clickable options on the thumbnail, on the image, because you don't want to put it on, like for example, if you have a picture of your guest, I don't want to put a clickable button over top of their face. That just looks a little unclassy. So I try to move them out of the way. If you go to mine, you go to livingthenextchapter.com and check out my YouTube channel. If you go here on How to Podcast or DadSpace, you'll see I'm using my end cards and my end screens to keep people with me longer. So that's one thing to keep in mind. We've talked about it already, but if this is your first time here, playlists are super important on YouTube as well. Quick overview. What do playlists do? They organize episodes by topic, season, or guest, enabling autoplay and structured viewing. So it's a great way to put a bunch of similar content together in bite-sized chunks instead of having, like this show's got over 500 episodes, Living the Next Chapter's over 700 episodes. By this point, it's just a wall of content. So if I can break them into smaller chunks, more apt for people to press play and stay in that playlist and listen through episode to episode to episode. So in my end screen, I'm going to link to my playlist if there's a series of episodes in a playlist that goes along with the video or audio you just partook of. That's what I want. I want people to stay with me longer by leveraging my playlist. Some best practices: Keep your topic-specific or season-specific playlists to guide your binge watching of your audience. Add every new episode to its relevant playlists and feature the most popular or newest episodes at the top, and then use consistent naming, like podcast topic and episode number, whatever. But make it look consistent. The other thing we can do on YouTube is we can customize our channel. So I'm calling you out. If you got a boring YouTube channel, it's time to do some work on it. There's nothing fancy about it. I would encourage you to have a channel trailer, just like we have a trailer in audio podcasts that lives up outside of the content available to everybody who comes for the first time. Your podcast needs a trailer as well on YouTube. So create a trailer for it. Make it a short video that presents the show's premise to non-subscribers. You want to bring people in right from the top. They don't know where to start, so let them know. And let them know you have playlists as well in that trailer. And a featured video is a great tool as well. It highlights for returning subscribers to surface the latest or most popular episode. And we can always watermark your videos to keep a subtle watermark to boost the recognition across your videos. So some of the people you'll see on YouTube have a little logo, kind of transparent or really faint in one of the corners of their videos. That's an option for you as well. But customize your channel. Don't just take it out of the box and put it out. Make it yours. Your colors, your look, your feel should match with your website, with your podcast, with your Instagram. It should carry all over the same theme all the way across into your YouTube channel. Keep that in mind. There's also subtitles and accessibility. So here's where I need to do better at this. This is one of the things on my list, is adding accurate subtitles to improve searchability and reach non-native listeners. We can use chapter markers in our episodes to give us distinct segments and help viewers jump to preferred topics. When it comes to chapter markers, this is a new tool that I'm working with right now and playing with. You can go check it out as well. But it puts chapters in your YouTube videos. We're not talking about Spotify and Apple right now. We're talking about YouTube. It puts chapter markers into your YouTube videos so that you can send people to these different key points and they can skip around. If you have 30 topics you cover in your podcast episode, which is probably too many, you can then make it so people can jump around. So if I'm not interested in topic A, but I want to go to topic B, I can click chapter button and I can jump and skip all that other stuff. I would encourage you to do 30 episodes with one key item instead of one podcast with 30 items. It's going to help you. So keep that in mind. And in the next episode, I've got a couple other ideas for you on how podcasts on YouTube should be different than podcasts in audio. So just keep that in mind. So use those chapter features and that tool as well. That tool is called Blog, B-L-O-G, Fox, like the animal that lives in the forest, blogfox.ai. There's a free version. They obviously want you to pay for it, but blogfox.ai, I put a link in the show notes. That'll help you with your chapters in YouTube, specifically YouTube, blogfox.ai. I'll put a link in the notes. The other part, too, is we can look at our community tab, and I think a lot of people forget to look at this. One of the things I encourage all my guests to do is to jump into their episode on my show on YouTube and get in the comments, because the people in the comments are talking about you as the guest on my show. They're like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite author. I can't believe I get to hear them on an interview. This is awesome. I've got all their books, blah, 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 blah. And then the author rolls into the comments and starts talking to the commenter in my episode without me prompting it. And now the guest can now talk directly to the viewer and listener. Like, what a great combination, right? So guests, always go into the comments and at least introduce yourself. If there's no comments there, be the first comment and say, hi, I'm the guest on this episode. Happy to connect with anybody. If anyone has any questions, leave them here. But go in the comments when you're a guest on a show. Why are you not doing this? This is prime real estate for you to connect with the audience. And for us as podcasters, that community tab is where we can use polls, behind the scenes updates. We can have teaser images. We can maintain engagement. You can ask questions to your audience, pose things to them. It is like a social media app in that sense. That community tab needs your attention in 2026. So please go take a look at that. So what are some best practices for podcasters targeting YouTube and the YouTube audience? One thing I would suggest to you is to plan out more interlinked engagement paths so that your audience has a clear destination to head to. Map out each episode with a primary call to action, like listen to this episode and this playlist, and use that in the content. Talk about it. And then secondary options like subscribe, join, discussion and comments, check out the show notes, all that stuff. And encourage your listeners and your viewers to jump in the comments, as you'll see other YouTubers do. Encourage them to do that, because that's where fertile growth is going to grow, right? It's a great spot to plant some seeds to do that. And align your audio content with your video content. Use clear podcast-friendly visuals, waveforms, guest photos, topic, banners, and keep on-screen text minimal but informative. Optimize for watch time and retention. Hook people within the first 15 seconds and even the first 3 to 10 seconds with a compelling question or a teaser or something that rolls people into the content. Remember, they're coming from somewhere else, generally, when they come to you. So you got to hit them right from the beginning and avoid all the chit-chat. We'll get into that in the next episode. And then use those mid-roll card prompts. Only when there's a natural interruption or transition, don't throw them in randomly. Make it make sense. Even on YouTube, as it is in all podcasting, consistency is important. Publish on a regular cadence. When you're here and there, you're in and out, you post, you don't post. There's no common elements to that. So be in a common state and post often. That's really important. Publish on a regular cadence and cross-promote. Promote related podcast content on the end screen and within cards. And if you like this guest, then check out this interview, that kind of stuff. And don't forget to tag and collaborate with your guests. There's now options to do this in YouTube that you haven't been there historically. So you can tag each other and it helps to show up on their content and vice versa. So make sure you're doing that as well. A quick talk about show descriptions and some key elements to include in your show description, your show notes. Let's talk about that. Make sure you have some clear show branding in your show notes, your descriptions. That's something that you need to keep in mind, like a one-line value proposition. Remember, people aren't going to read everything you write there, but make sure you have the best words there. Episode title with a hook, guest name, credentials, episode number, and release date are encouraged. Short bullet points on the topics covered, format, interview, solo panel, and any special features, question and answer, listener submissions. Timestamps are optional but encouraged. Your call to action, your primary action item you're asking from your viewer and listener. Subscribe for weekly episodes or follow the podcast on your favorite platform. And then any secondary call to actions like links to transcripts, companion resources, and the show's website. If you mention anything as a resource in the content when you do your podcast, make sure there's a clickable link in your show notes. Super frustrating. There are podcast gurus who bring on guests, do great interviews with these other podcasters they're coaching. And when I go to the show notes, because I want to go check out the podcast of the guest on the guru's show, there's nothing. Only their funnel for that podcaster. Nothing about the guest, nothing about their show, no links to their socials or website or their podcast to go listen to, nothing. And I'm like, you're the guru? Really? So, yeah, you're listening and participating with the wrong guru if they can't even give the promos to the people they feature on their show. Tangent averted. So make sure you have clickable links to send people into the world of the guests and the topics. Make sure that if you mention a book, a website, anything, there's a clickable link to what you're talking about. Super important. So this is just a small taste of some of the things you can do on your YouTube channel. And there's probably new features coming out all the time. So this is kind of dated, and in the future, there are probably even more or less of what we talked about today available to you. So reach out to me anytime, and you and I can get together and pull up Zoom, do a screen share, and walk through your YouTube channel. And we can pinpoint some of the things that maybe you're missing on your YouTube channel specific to podcasters. Not a YouTuber, a podcaster on YouTube. There's some things that can really help your podcast grow. So reach out to me. Happy to help you with that. The one thing, too, I would encourage you to do is grab links to your YouTube episode that you're talking about, to your playlist on YouTube, and then feature those links elsewhere. So if you have a Substack, for example, and you're writing about your podcast and about your topic, pull in links from YouTube to your Substack, and from your Substack to your YouTube, and make those connections happen so people know where else you are. It's great. When you mention in episode 35, we talked to so-and-so about the thing, then have a link in Substack that goes right to YouTube, right? Or in your social media, or in your email signature, or in your LinkedIn bio. Have links to the things that you want people to link to. Don't forget to do that. That's really important. The more people you can send to your YouTube channel, the better. Again, there's so much to talk about. The next episode, I'm going to share with you what I believe to be a very unique YouTube strategy that's working for me. It is apparently the complete opposite of what gurus are going to teach you. And even though they say it doesn't work, I have proof that it does. So you can listen to them and not be on YouTube and hope for the best, or you can listen to this show, take some of the ideas that we're sharing here, put them into practice, and measure it for yourself. You decide. It's your show. And don't just listen to somebody because they have a podcast. Listen to somebody because they've invested in you and you're invested in them. It's time to pick the right mentor in 2026. Somebody's going to tell you the truth and not just get you to sign up for their funnel. I'm not here to sell you on a $2,000 course. I'm here to help you grow your show. And that's why we do this show every single day in the year 2026. Yeah, every day we're going to have an episode for you. So come back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about YouTube and some of Dave's best practices for the How to Podcast series and my other 8 shows. Happy to be here with you, and I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here. So I get asked quite often, usually at the end of a podcast, like right now, Dave, how can we help you? Like, how can we, as a listener, support the show? Can we come rake your leaves? Can we cut the grass? Shovel the snow? Watch your dog? Help you move? What can we do? Clean your dishes? Oh, that'd be interesting. Well, if you can't do that because, you're in Poland, maybe you can help us by supporting us with our Buy Me a Coffee. It's right there on our website. And, it just will help us to, A, stay fueled because, we drink a lot of coffee around here, and it helps the show. So if you want to help us, it's out of the goodness of your heart. I can tell you that listening to the podcast to this point, you've already helped us so much. But I do have people saying, Dave, I'd love to give back something small, even just to the show. Buy Me a Coffee link is on our website at howtopodcast.ca. And you can support the show that way. It would mean a lot to have you on our team supporting what we do here. If you find value in the show, then that's great. Share the show, tell somebody about it. And when somebody says, Dave, I want to start a podcast, who should I check out? Oh, you should go check out the How to Podcast series because of all the great co-hosts and all the things that happen here, the meetups, everything. And I would appreciate that. And then fill our cup once in a while if you can. But again, thank you so much for being here and supporting the How to Podcast series. Take care. Talk soon. So the question, hey, you're still here. Good. Yeah. Okay. I see. I'm already jumping in. The question I got from a podcaster I'm working with is, what is the one thing I should look at on YouTube as kind of like the first thing and the most important thing on my YouTube channel to know how I'm doing on YouTube? And there's a lot to look at on YouTube. There's a lot of stats. There's a lot of information. I would tell you the most important is to look at the retention rate for your podcast. You want to look at the episode retention rate. it's going to make you sad when you first go there originally, because you're going to see that as a new podcaster with no audience and no community and no listeners and no viewers, you are nobody. And that's sobering, because we want to be somebody, right? When you look at your stats and look at your episodes, even with 500 plus episodes, I'm not where I want to be. I'd love to see it grow, but you can learn a lot about your audience by simply looking at the retention rate, which simply means how long did somebody listen to your episode? How long did they stay around? That's why I'm doing this little Q&A at the end of the show. Like we should be done right now. We should be gone and on to the next thing. But I'm adding on a specifically pointed piece of content only available to you as a bonus at the end of the episode to keep people listening longer. And the people who don't know about this content, they don't get this content. I'm not releasing it anywhere else. It's just you and me. So I'm doing this on purpose to drag people towards the end of the show and hopefully keep them with me longer. You're still here, so it works for you. So I want this to work for more people. So think about adding a little bonus thing at the end. Some people will do clips and mistakes and bloopers. And who cares about bloopers? I want to give you something of value, not my trash. So that's kind of my approach. You do whatever works for you in your show, but for me, I'd much rather give you value than garbage. So for me, I put this at the end. I want people to listen longer. The bonus to this as well would be YouTube is going to tell you about content that's doing well on YouTube that might not be doing well or as well in audio. So like I've released episodes on YouTube, and I've seen when I compare my YouTube numbers to my audio numbers, I know they're two different things. I know that. But I can see that this episode with this guest did better on YouTube than it did in my audio players. So I might want to do more work to promote this in the audio world, because there's something about the content that people like. So it just gives me a chance to reflect and go, maybe I'm missing an opportunity here to promote something that's working on YouTube, and vice versa. If it's really working well in audio, but it's not doing that well in video, then maybe I can play with this as well. So you have something to compare something to. Here's the danger though. A view on YouTube is like a microsecond counts as a view. You know those auto playing videos that just start playing after you watch the last video? They actually count for that creator, even though you didn't watch and you skipped through or stopped. They still got a click. They still got a stat. So don't be too worried about what's a view on YouTube compared to what's a listen on Apple, because it's not really fair. But look at the big picture of the content. If something's doing really well somewhere and not doing very well somewhere else, it gives you a chance to reflect and kind of go, okay, maybe I could do this better, or maybe this needs my attention. So use that as a guide. That's what I'm encouraging you to do, is keep that in mind as you look at your stats. Okay, so retention, and watch for anomalies, watch for special things happening, and use that as information direct from your audience on what you should do next, or do more of, or do less of. Keep that in mind. If you ever have any questions, howtopodcast.ca. Take care.